Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I know we had some people get on a little bit early, and we'll have people joining us as I begin our session today. My name is Brooke Rapp, and I'm the Director of Community Development for Uptown Consortium. Beth Robison will be speaking a little bit more about Uptown Cincinnati at large, but we convene the 5 neighborhoods of Uptown, as well as the 5 anchor institutions here to do redevelopment work, community and economic development in our neighborhoods. I'll be leading the technology during today's session, so if you have any questions or any issues, feel free to send me a message through the chat or an email. I am pleased to introduce Beth, our President and CEO. She will be leading today's session, and take it away, Beth. Oh, you're muted.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you, Brooke, and good morning, everyone. And thank you to our panelists this morning. As Brooke said, we're the Uptown Consortium, and we have organized these discussions. It started during the pandemic when we weren't able to meet and convene with our community partners, and we really get a lot of good feedback and a lot of interest in the topics we cover. So we're continuing those as we all enter back into the workforce and back into our regular lives. I think we all understand and appreciate the value of connecting virtually now. So for today's discussion, we have invited real estate experts to join us for this conversation. So I, again, want to thanks to them taking their time out of their busy day and to talk with us about what's going on in the market, why Uptown is attractive to buyers, and really get into a discussion of some of the amenities that buyers are looking for today. So first, I will introduce the expert panelists, and then we will have a question and answer discussion. A few of you have already submitted questions, and we are hopeful we'll get to those today, or as many as we can. And as Brooke mentioned, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll try to get to those as well. So first, I'm pleased to introduce Nikki Hayden from Team Herr Real Estate. Nikki is a licensed realtor who services buyers and sellers in Ohio and Kentucky. She has over 25 years of sales experience, and which makes her an expert at negotiation and an advocate for her clients' needs. In 2020, she had her best year, selling over 46 homes with a total sales volume of 22 million. Nikki graduated from the University of Cincinnati with a bachelor's degree in business. She is an active board member of the Building Industry Association of Northern Kentucky and a past board member of the Greater Cincinnati Relocation Council. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you.
Second, I am very pleased to introduce a great friend to us here at Uptown, Sheila Holmes Howard. Sheila is a real estate sales consultant with OwnerLand Realty and a realtor member of the National Association of Realtors. She has been in the industry for 35 years, with places all the way from New York to California, and in the past 20 years here in Ohio. She currently holds a broker's license in California currently as well. She joined the Avondale Community Council in 2004 and currently serves as the Community Council Vice President, President of Avondale's Avenue District Block Club, which we are very proud to say she provides meals annually to over 1,000 families in Avondale for the Thanksgiving holiday with that program. She's also a member of the Mount Auburn Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Cincinnati, Kentucky African American Chamber of Commerce, and the Collective Empowerment Group Metro Cincinnati chapter. She's also served on the board of Habitat for Humanity of Greater Cincinnati for 12 years. So thank you, Sheila, for joining us today. And finally, we have Rob Porter of Cutler Realty. Rob is a local real estate expert with over 20 years of experience in the Cincinnati market. Besides a master's degree in business management, Rob is a certified negotiations expert with the expertise to exceed his clients' expectations. Rob is a founding member of Give Back Cincinnati, which is an all-volunteer community service organization serving Greater Cincinnati's neighborhoods. He is also the founder of Give Back Cincinnati's annual Paint the Town project, which has painted over 550 homes for local homeowners in need. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you for having me.
So, very impressive backgrounds of our three real estate professionals, and I think I can say with confidence that not only are they successful in their chosen field, but they all really give back to the community as well. So congratulations to all of you on that. So first, I would like to open up with a general question and maybe start with Nikki, and then we'll go around. I'll call on each of you. What are some of the big trends you're seeing currently out in the market, just in the area that you work in?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to add, as far as my partner, Herr, who is also president of North Avondale, she couldn't join us today, so she sends her apology. So I am on the team with Heather as well. But as far as some of the trends that we are seeing, we're seeing a lot of people from the suburbs are wanting to move closer to the urban core in the city, with the growth of everything going on in the city. They want to be closer to the workplace. And so they're wanting to actually downsize and take advantage of being the proximity. That's actually been extremely important, and wanting to kind of keep it simple and affordable, and kind of be with all the trends, new restaurants, developments. That's actually a really key thing that's going on right now.
So really all the things we read about,
Yep.
the trend of folks wanting to move into the urban area is what you're seeing as well.
That's correct. That's correct. I have multiple families to give examples of, but, I have one family even from Northern Kentucky that is wanting to list their house in the suburb and move to the urban core, so that they have the accessibility to, take advantage of walking around, enjoying all the restaurants and the lifestyle, and keeping it more simple, and just looking more for a townhome or a smaller house that can, offer all of those things.
And Sheila, are you seeing that as well, that same trend?
Yes, I have. Over the, I guess, past 10 years, there's been a shift in the type of buyers that are moving from out of area to the inner core of Cincinnati. It's a welcome change because we need to increase our population, and I'm talking about Avondale to begin with. There's been a lot of gentrification and new redevelopment coming in after that. And so the shift of people wanting to be closer to all the activities that Nikki mentioned are important. Maybe not to drive as long as they had to when they lived out of area, and then take on public transportation, ride their bicycles, they can walk. It's more inclusive type of neighborhoods that are happening, which is great.
And Rob, would you agree with Nikki and Sheila? That's what you're saying as well?
I would definitely agree with my distinguished colleagues. If we take a step back, what's really driving this market are the 78 million millennials. That's the 23 to 41 age group that are entering the market as buyers or moving up as buyers. And that's driving the local real estate market as well. They're 31% of the population. In perspective, boomers were 27% at their peak. So 70% of those millennials say they want to buy a home in the next 3 years. So they're really pushing the market. And, we see that at the local level with, folks wanting to be closer to work, closer to entertainment areas, not wanting to be as far out in the suburbs as possibly the Generation X groups wanted to be.
And what type, what are they looking for in terms of the homes themselves? Is it a mixture of new and old products, or small, large? Maybe speak to a little bit, follow up a little bit on what Nikki said about that as well.
Well, I think that, the millennials grew up with, HGTV, so their demands are higher than what prior generations were as far as housing. So people moving into the area, they either want brand new construction with all of the bells and whistles, or they want a classic house that has been updated to current standards. So they're looking for the open floor plan, larger kitchens, larger primary bedrooms with, attached bathrooms, those types of things, some yard space that, can be developed for their family needs, and especially off-street parking, which can be a challenge in some of these older areas, as my colleagues can attest to.
That's very interesting. I know when I was younger and buying my first house, it was assumed that you would have to fix some things up, right? And it wouldn't be perfect when you bought it. And it does seem like, from everything I hear and read, that the buyers really want everything finished for them when they move in.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about Uptown, the 5 neighborhoods of Uptown, which is Clifton, Mount Auburn, Clifton Heights, Avondale, and Quarryville. What can you say about the Uptown market? There's a lot of diversity here in terms of housing stock and neighborhood amenities and so forth. So maybe just each one of you share your experiences, and maybe this time I'll start with Sheila.
Okay, well, I live in Uptown, so I'm a little biased, but it is a great opportunity to have a cluster of neighborhoods all in sync with all what they offer. And each neighborhood is so unique, eclectic, updated, old school. You can get a little bit of everything. So a buyer has many different opportunities to pick and choose what style home, what neighborhood, what that neighborhood offers. And it's all, again, within easy transportation. So they're not limited to one area only. We house, a lot of the major institutions, one of the largest employers in Uptown, Children's Hospital. We have the Cincinnati Zoo, what I call Pill Hill, with all the other medical facilities. And then each neighborhood has its own little business district. So it's just a really good place to settle down. And then when you want to go out of the area, out of Uptown, you can still get to downtown under 10 minutes. You can get to the airport within 25 minutes. There's 2 freeways, 71 and 75. I mean, it just has everything, what we call it centrally located, and just a good place to start as an individual, a family, a baby boomer. It just appeals to everyone.
Nikki, would you agree with that in your experience and your team's experience?
Absolutely, especially since, I've been on the relocation board, my previous experience, as well as do a lot with Coldwell Banker in the relocation segment. So I can attest for representing those coming from the healthcare and educational facilities here in the area. For example, UC, Children's, I'm working with physicians, everybody moving, and they're wanting to stay in the urban core area. Gas prices are rising, they want to be able to, walk to work, or, Uber to downtown to the nightlife and grab a dinner and drinks. So it's extremely important. It's the very first thing when we're having calls and setting the goals and expectations of what they're looking for and their needs, as well as their budget. That's actually, it's becoming quite popular.
That's great. And Rob, would you like to add anything to that?
Well, kind of echoing what's been said, the area truly has something for everyone, from, classic turn of the century brick homes with 10-foot ceilings, newer townhouses with city views, to income producing property near the university, I've got clients that, have come to the area for all different purposes and for, all different styles of property.
And what is the market still so hot? I've heard stories of bidding wars between buyers and price escalations, or is it cooled down? I mean, we're right in the throes of the spring market. So anyone want to jump in on that question?
I could talk about that a little bit. So the market is still very tight, mainly for the reasons I alluded to earlier, the millennials entering the market and, historic low interest rates. As we see these interest rates increase, there will be some at the lower price points, people being priced out of the market. But the demand from the millennials is so strong and there's so little inventory that we see that market, continuing to be strong and healthy into the foreseeable future. There's not a lot of inventory on the market, a couple of dozen homes. Seeing the current inventory of property skewing towards some new construction at the higher end. That will bring some different folks into the local area that may not have considered the area otherwise. They want those latest and greatest bells and whistles as far as, open floor plans, large kitchens, views of the neighborhood. But they also want the classic neighborhoods. They want to be able to walk to places. They want to be able to meet the neighbors. They want sidewalks, things that, they can't get way out of town somewhere.
Yeah, I would like to add to that too with, I pulled inventory of the urban core this morning, just, kind of for fun, no price points, anything. And it ranges anywhere from, 45,000, maybe an investment type property to, 1.2 million. And there were a total of 26 active, properties listed. So, the key, it is extremely expressive right now. You're still seeing, multiple offers, but the key is if it was priced right, then it does drive multiple offers. If you're seeing anything still left is kind of sitting, then oftentimes they didn't come out of the gate and price that appropriately. And then that's where you're seeing it sit. So yeah, just a few thoughts, but it is, I mean, we've seen all cases going into, 40, 50,000 over asking, appraisal gap coverage. That is extremely stressful for first time home buyers. So it kind of depends, but it's important to have the right agents to guide them through the process. But as interest rates are slowly increasing, buyers are still actively looking and wanting to beat it to the punch so that they can still get something locked in.
And how would you advise, or how do you advise your buyers in this kind of market? Sheila, maybe that question's to you, since it is so competitive. Any advice to people out there wanting to jump in the market?
Well, first of all, you can only do what you can afford, and that's it. So there is a cap for every buyer. Like Nikki said, these appraisal gaps and, trying to compete above your means is not what we would advise any buyer to do. Stay within your price range bracket when you're looking for homes. And when it's time to put an offer in, figure out what your cap is and check with your lender to make sure you are covered. If there is an opportunity to offer more than what you're approved for, maybe there's a way to get more funding or gift money to help with that. But I definitely do not try to help a buyer overbid something they can't afford. I don't even like to show them homes that are too far out of their range, because it's going to be very disappointing.
Right. Yeah, no, that's excellent. An excellent point to make is that every buyer has a cap and they should do what's best for them and not get caught up in all the competition, which sometimes I think it might be easy to do.
If I could add to what my colleagues have said, I think in this competitive market, it really behooves buyers to have a great agent and listen to their agent. I've had several clients lose out on property that they really wanted because they didn't they didn't listen to me when I told them what it was going to take to purchase that home. They think that, they can still get a great deal as far as some percentage off list price that they, heard about on some late night television show and how to buy real estate. And those things really don't apply to this market.
Right.
Some properties, sure, they're going to sell close to list price. Other ones, when we as realtors do the analysis, we know that it's undervalued in the current marketplace, and it's going to go well over that list price, sometimes 5-10% above that list price. So if a client really wants a property, they need to listen to the experts and take their advice to make sure that that one doesn't get away from them.
Well, which another question would be, in the last, 20 years, 15 years, technology has really been a part of the real estate industry, and where buyers might feel empowered to do their house hunting by themselves without an agent, which I know you all don't want to hear that, but you just spoke to the importance of representation, right, in the transaction, that you can see them on the internet, but you really need someone with the negotiating skills and the market knowledge to advise.
Yeah, there are speculators, those people that send you the postcards, the texts, the emails, knocking on your door saying, I have cash, I'll buy your house. You don't need a realtor. And unfortunately, I must say there were 2 families that went that route after my expert opinion, and went to their home, looked at their house, told them what would need to be done. Your house would be valued in this range. And for some reason, they took the other deal and sold it for a lot less. Again, we can only offer what we know and hope for the best that they, take our advice. But we don't know sometimes what is going on in that family's household and what pressures they may be under. And they may not share that with us in full, but it is sad to see how it turns out, where they call and say, no, I think we're going to go this way. And I wish them the best. And that's all I can do.
And to echo what Sheila has said is, there are a lot of investors that went to some, late night program, and they send out all these postcards, thousands and thousands of them. And I've had clients that have really been taken advantage of by these investors. They're not there representing or helping the homeowner. They're there only helping themselves. Whereas, we have a code of ethics where we're there to do good by our clients and serve their interest. These fly-by-night, investors are only there to make a quick buck. And unfortunately, sometimes they're not very scrupulous in their business dealings.
Nikki, you wanted to add something?
Yes, just to add what Rob and Sheila are saying, back to the buyers, one thing that's important. So if you have even for example, a, urban core buyer that is wanting, let's say their budget is $250,000, a lot of, especially millennials and first time home buyers, it's, they want, all the upgrades, and they want to max, they want to be at the top of their budget, and they're shopping on Zillow for $250. And so you kind of, get a hold of them, and, it's fully teamwork, working with the lender and the realtor, as well as your team, and making sure everybody's on the same plan. If they put 5% down, what their monthly mortgage is going to be, what the taxes are in the area, what that covers. And if they have a budget of $250, we need to be realistic and put them in, our database, so that they're getting, houses that are coming to their portal, and they need to be in a 200 shopping range, and people don't like that. But, because again, we're protecting them if we need room to wiggle and negotiate on their behalf. But they start figuring it out when things go in, an hour, or we can't even get there in time, and it already went pending. So.
Yeah, I'd like to switch just a little bit. We're getting some questions in the chat about financing, affordability, and those kind of questions. And one question that came through is, generally speaking, you're not lenders, but you're very familiar with the real estate industry. Typically, what would a home buyer need to put down as a down payment, as a percentage of the price? If someone wants to give a range or something? I mean, I know.
Sure, I can jump in on that. There are all sorts of programs out there, so it's best to, talk to one of us as agents. We can refer them to, top-notch mortgage professionals that specialize in this. But there are all sorts of programs out there, from 0% down programs to FHA, government-backed programs where you can put, as little as 3.5% down. Conventional, you can put up to 20% down or more if you wanted to. So I wouldn't let down payment amount be an inhibitor for folks as far as purchasing a home. There's really no good time to purchase a home family-wise. We always think we need more money in the bank, or we need this or that. It's really great time to purchase. Interest rates, even though they've risen, they're near historic lows. When I got into the industry, 20 plus years ago, the interest rates were over 8%. So now they're near 5%. That doesn't sound too bad. If you go back to 1982, I looked it up, the interest rates were almost 18%. So by those, historic standards, our rates are still near historic lows. So it's a great time to buy. As far as the mortgage, it's great to talk to a professional and get the advice that's geared towards each particular buyer. So that's what I would refer them to, as a talented mortgage person that can steer them in the right direction with the best mortgage product for them in their particular situation.
I would like to add, there are also grants to help with down payment assistance.
Good point.
I think last month was in the 5% down with several of the banks. If that funds is still there, you can apply for that. So your lender would be the first step into the process of purchasing a home. And yes, we can refer lenders. Start with the bank that you are already working with. And that's a good indication that you already have a rapport and you bank with them, and they may have special programs.
Good point, Sheila.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line is buyers or folks that want to aspire to be a buyer need to educate themselves and get as much information, and don't be afraid to reach out to your banker and sit down and talk with them, or a real estate agent, and make your plan. How can I buy a home? Is the timing right now? I mean, I think sometimes we all get a little intimidated by asking those questions and just automatically thinking, well, we can't qualify, or we can't do that. But really, it's so important to talk with the right professionals for guidance, and to understand the market as well, right? So getting back to the affordability, particularly in Uptown, as I mentioned earlier, we have a diverse set of neighborhoods with all different price points. How do you advise someone that might be living in one of the neighborhoods, if they want to, let's say they're a renter, because we do have a high number of renters here in Uptown and really throughout the city. It's just the way the housing stock was built. Talk a little bit about affordable. How could a renter maybe go and get into a home? What are some of the price points that you're seeing? Particularly, Sheila, I know you're very active in the Avondale area, and that is a community in transition. Maybe talk a little bit about affordability.
Well, that is the key word for Uptown. And I think that's what draws a lot of folks our way. They would have never normally thought about moving to the Uptown area. It's either the suburbs, outer suburbs, or downtown if they want that type of lifestyle. But since we offer different types of housing stock, it is appealing. So as a renter, again, your first step is to talk to a mortgage officer to see where you qualify at for your first time home loan. And from there, you can see the different types of housing that we have in the Uptown area and where you feel you'd fit in. So I have a list that I had put together of what you should be thinking about as a buyer. And it's like your dream. You know, what type of house do you want? Where do you want it? How many bedrooms, baths, and the amenities? And put that in your mind so you can get an idea as you start looking online, which a lot of buyers do that before they come to us. So they think they already know what they want. We go by that, right? We start searching online, setting up appointments, taking them to these homes that they say they wanted to see. And turns out, no, it's not. I changed my mind. I want this type. I want that type. And it drives us nuts. But we try to break that dream down to a reality, you know. But the affordability in Uptown gives them a good start. If you're already living here as a renter, you have an idea of what's available, and it's an easier way to put that dream together and see what's in the neighborhoods if you still want to stay in Uptown. And again, that lender will help you get to the point where you know where your affordability price point is.
And I would add to that, what she was saying is you know, it's really important understanding if you're already in a rental situation, understanding when your lease is up, and there's got to be a whole strategy around that. You can't, because, you know, you have to know if you can continue to go month to month, and then how that's going to increase your monthly rent. And a lot of times you got to be like ready to play ball and do that. You know, you can't just sign a whole nother year lease and start shopping for a house, because then you're going to put in an aggressive offer, close in 30 days, and then you're in a lease. So you created more financial hardship on yourself than what was needed. So if you speak to, you know, realtors, and you're with, and you have a solid plan. I have multiple people in rental plans. Their lease may not be up in July, and we have a plan when they're shopping and when they're going to, you know, be approved. And they think just because they're spending $1,800 a month on rent that they're, you know, ready to go. There's a lot of factors involved in that, what their debt to income ratio is, how much their down payment, when their lease is going to be up, and the strategy to do that. So that would be a tip too.
In some ways, the rental market is more challenging even than the purchase market right now. You know, I've had struggled to find rentals for clients coming in with Procter and Gamble and other companies, and you know, especially when they have requirements like they want garage parking or, you know, different things like that. You know, that's a challenge in the Uptown area to get off-street parking, let alone garage parking. You're usually looking at the over 2,000 price point, you know, to get garage parking. I have a client who's a Gen X young guy, and you know, he just moved into big classic house with 10-foot ceilings off of Ohio Avenue, and you know, the garage was a big deal for him, but I managed to get him at least off-street parking that's covered for his vehicle, and you know, he's fallen in love with the house. He works in Mason, and he's willing to do that commute every day because he fell in love with the older housing stock. He's moving in from Las Vegas. There's nothing 100+ years old in Las Vegas, I guarantee you.
That's a great story. I love that he's working in the suburbs and living here. Because a lot of times we hear, of course, people work here and then live in the suburbs. So
Right.
I like to hear that story, because one of the things we try to do with our communities and our partners is to encourage our institutional employees to live near where they work, and here in Uptown. And there's been a lot of new housing development, particularly in Avondale, and Mount Auburn, of course, has had a lot of housing that started. The port has done a lot of great investments in these neighborhoods, added housing choices. So I think it's about giving people options, and at different price points, different products. It sounds like, just from hearing all of you, it sort of vindicates what we've always thought, that Uptown has a diversity of housing choices and affordability and types of housing. And, you know, we should continue along that route while encouraging our existing homeowners to stay, because we have a great base of community homeowners that are active in the community that, of course, we want to keep, but introduce the new as well. So it's good to hear that the market is robust and people are attracted to Uptown for all the reasons that we just talked about. If we could just shift just a little bit about investment property. we get inquiries periodically about folks looking to buy a 2-family or 3-family, maybe live in one unit and renovate the other units. Are you seeing a lot of that in Uptown? Or is it more larger groups buying those kind of places?
Well, I'll talk to it a little bit. The Uptown area has been a great place to bring investor clients over the years. Right now I have investor clients that are, from California and different states that, are coming here because the prices are so much lower than what they're seeing in other places. And they want to invest in rental property here. There's not a lot of inventory currently, and that inventory has been bid up. There's a lot of dollars, a lot of investors chasing those properties. So the values have really went up. So if there are, folks out there that are looking to get out of that business as far as retiring or moving on with their lives, now's a great time to sell because the values have went up and the demand, multiple offers for some of these multi-family properties. So now is a great time for them to look at liquidating those properties.
Yeah, I would add what Rob's saying. It's also important to, again, work with your realtors. We know a lot of off-market properties, multifamily opportunities. We're involved in the groups and supportive in our community. But, we are seeing a lot of it. I get calls every day from investors. We're the most affordable city to live in the United States, and everybody's wanting to come to Cincinnati and get California calls, investors wanting to buy multifamilies. And like you said, they're not existent. If there is an opportunity, I mean, sometimes, some cases you could get outbeat by, cash offers. And, and in some cases, investors are wanting to, crunch the numbers, know the rents, how long the tenants have been involved in their leases, and they're still running numbers, and it's already pending. So we're definitely getting a lot of investors. There's just not enough inventory.
I think you're on mute, Sheila.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not enough inventory with multifamily properties as well. If they are vacant buildings, the condition of the property is another big factor with investors, how much they have to put in to renovate to get it up to where they can rent it out. So their return on investment is extremely important. I work with several investors that I don't know their budget, but I said, oh, this is a great property. They number crunch like Nikki said, and I said, nope, that's not it. Well, are you keeping it for the short term, the long term? Are you gonna, and every investor has their own plan. And all we can do is show them what we have. But sometimes it tickles me because it looks like a good deal, and you're getting it at this price. Yes, it needs some work, but your return on investment looks good to me. I'm showing you comps, and whatever, plan that they have, it works or it doesn't. And then we're on to the next one. So it is kind of time consuming working with these investors as well.
But like Sheila's saying though, perhaps even more so with investors, we're their partner. I mean, we're not responsible for running their numbers, but we kind of give them the lowdown on the property. And, once they've shared with us what their goal is or goals and everything that they're trying to achieve, then, we kind of go to work for them and we say, this really, I know you see this online and it looks like a great deal, but, based on the condition of the foundation, the roof, everything that needs to go into this is really not going to match your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And, it behooves them to really pay attention and use us as their partner in the investment process.
Right.
If you were advising a group like ours that does a lot of planning and redevelopment work, or other groups for the city, or if you were making a plan for Uptown, what is missing? What kind of housing do you think you would advise? Maybe a hard question to answer. Maybe there's a couple of different answers, but because we do have a lot of rental product and we need rental units for people that aren't ready to buy. And just off the top of your head, what would you advise? What do we need?
I don't want to dominate the conversation, but this is one that's near and dear to my heart. Is, we see a lot of gentrification in different areas. After one of the hurricanes in New Orleans, I was down there helping to rebuild down there, and as they rebuilt, they kind of changed the character of the neighborhoods. Different people moved in from what had lived there previously. And I want to make sure that, we're cognizant of that here, that we don't totally change the neighborhood so that folks that have lived there for generations don't feel at home anymore or are priced out of the area. I see a lot of investment going in to these properties, but there are also whole streets and blocks where, the folks really don't have the money to put into the homes. And these big old houses, some of these 3-story houses really require a lot of maintenance. And coming out of the recession, a lot of folks still don't have that kind of money that's required. I'd like to see more programs, more grant programs that help these people. That either low interest forgivable loans or grants for stuff as simple as roofs. My community service group, when we go in to look at houses to help as far as the exterior painting for Paint the Town every year, we've dealt with people that don't even have indoor running water. In this day and age in this country, that's shameful. And I think we need to help those folks.
Yes, I agree. We do have a lot of homes that are still occupied by past generations and that are in need of severe work, be it the exterior, which there have been programs in Avondale for exterior repair work on forgivable loans, and some with low interest. And I do believe that that's going to be ramped up again with the Avondale Development Corporation. But we could use more of that. How do we get inside these homes? It's prideful, first of all. A lot of folks don't want you to see how they're living. But if we can get there, how can we help them if they're on fixed incomes? I am a product of one of the forgivable loans for my home. I had exterior work done with new driveway, sidewalk, roof, painting, the whole bit. And I appreciate that. And it was something that I didn't know that was available. So being informed in your community is another way to find out what opportunities you have as a homeowner. As a renter, the landlord has opportunities to get work done on their buildings as well. So our community councils, our neighborhood associations are important organizations for residents to stay connected with, to find out what is going on in the neighborhood, where they can get their resources and get the help they need.
Absolutely. The only thing I would add to Sheila and Rob would say, more tax abatements would be helpful. With there are 8 current projects and 11 completed for the revitalization. Also when there are condo developments, I would add HOA to be, at affordable, because that really does change their whole spending dollar amount and their loan too with high HOAs. So making sure that would be at a reasonable level as well to be bringing everyone into the urban core there.
Very insightful comments by each of you. Going to come back to something we spoke about earlier, and maybe we'll wrap up our discussion about amenities that are important to attract buyers. One of the things that we've done is we formed a young professionals and well, actually they're professionals and UC students, kind of like a talent kitchen cabinet of young people, and just ask them if we could get you to stay in Uptown after you graduate or at your first job, what would you look to have? What would attract you? First thing, of course, is a job, right? But that's always very helpful because we don't want them to leave and go to Chicago and all that. We're trying to keep them here in the city and in Uptown. But it's interesting, some of the things that they're looking for, of course, coffee shops and things like that, but also pedestrian connectivity. And they want to be able to walk to work and have green space. Would you say that those are amenities that are important for your clientele, the millennials, which are a little older, I believe, than the group that we were talking to?
Yeah, accessibility to where they live and work.
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more, if you're not actually physically going to where you work, you are working from home. So a big amenity is to have that type of space inside the home where you can work. If you have a family with children, where the children can play. But it's that open floor plan is important. If it's a home with a lower level, that it's finished so that it can have access to get off the main level as well. But where we at in Uptown is the accessibility of everything in the home, outside the home, and then traveling. And like Nikki said, you can Uber downtown instead of taking your car and parking in a garage. There are buses throughout the Uptown area that can take you everywhere. It's amazing how far these buses go, but you don't have to rely on your own vehicle if you don't want to. And I think that is what is important to new homeowners: affordability and accessibility.
And even, more, sorry, Nikki, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add, don't forget about the furry pets. That's actually extremely important. That is like their child, especially to keep people in the urban core. I mean, that is like that's the trend. I mean, it's not just, them needing the kitchen that they want and the bathroom that they want. I mean, at the top of the list is, can their dog come, and what's the pet restrictions and the breed and the weight limit, and where do we walk my dog? I mean, that is extremely important. That's a huge amenity.
That's kind of what I was going to say as well. Is first thing clients from out of town that are coming to the area ask is it safe? They want to feel safe when they walk the dog at night. When they go jogging early in the morning, when they have their young kids out playing out front, they want to feel safe. And, unfortunately, there's been some, over the years, high profile things that have happened that, stick in the news cycle and stick in people's minds, and we have to get them past that. And we also have to work with, law enforcement, civic leaders to make sure we're helping to create these safe environments for folks. And I think that's something we can do, work with our community liaisons to help provide that safe environment. And I commend my coworkers for being part of that solution, working in these communities, helping folks so that, when we do bring people to these communities, they can feel that same sense of safety and community. But the demand for having walkable communities, green space where they can take the dog and the kids within walking distance. I mean, I've got several clients right now that's high on their list of priorities.
Well, really, thank you for all of your insights. We could really go on another hour because it's interesting listening to all of you, really experts in the industry. And we can't thank you enough for taking your time. Does anyone want to say anything or want to add anything before we wrap up? We're realtors, so we can talk about real estate 24/7. So you're never going to bother us about talking about real estate. Well, I really very much appreciate it. I think it's been very informative, and we may ask you to do this again sometime in the near
future. Feel free.
We would love to.
Love the opportunity.
And
thank you for everything you're doing in the community.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. And thank you to all of our viewers. We had some spirited comments that we will look through. We couldn't get to all of them and try to follow up on some of those questions. But thank you all, and we'll be seeing you soon at a future Insight webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.